Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Now, this story supposedly really happened in Florida, and it was sent to me by a very trustworthy source. Here we go. When Southern Florida resident Nathan Radlich's house was burglarized recently, thieves ignored his widescreen plasma TV, his VCR, and even left his Rolex watch. What they did take, however, was a white box filled with a grayish-white powder. A spokesman for the Fort Lauderdale Police Department said that it looked similar to high-grade cocaine, and they'd probably thought they'd hit the big time. Later, Nathan, the owner, stood in front of numerous TV cameras and pleaded with the burglars, "Please return the cremated remains of my sister Gertrude. She died 3 years ago." The next morning, the bullet-riddled corpse of a local drug dealer known as Hoochie Peavens was found on Nathan's doorstep. The white box was there too. Only about half of Gertrude's ashes remained, and scotch taped to the box was this note that said, "Hoochie sold us the bogus blow, so we wasted Hoochie. Sorry we snorted your sister. No hard feelings. Have a nice day." Oh, boy. Here comes Kate Smith. God bless America. Followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Thank you very much, and welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell. Good morning, and brought to you by our major Magic Valley sponsor, and that's, of course, Les Schwab Tire Centers all over the Magic Valley, all 7 of them. Thank you very much for your help. Big spring tire sale going on right now, and also some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Don't forget, locally owned and operated, 734-6969, and also our friends at Valley Wide Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Oh my, everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley Wide Home and Ranch. Oh, Wheels is running the board over there at the main studios, and right now, if we have a caller with the Pledge of Allegiance, come on the air, please. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, hello, Rotten.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Rotten, I got a question for you.
Lord, for this moisture that He has given us.
Amen to that, sir. I have a quick question for you, Rotten. Do you anticipate that possibly your lovely wife will be calling me this morning?
I have no idea when she's ever going to call you.
Well, let me know in advance so I can put on some extra deodorant, okay?
I'll tell her.
Okay.
All right, Jose. You heard that.
I did. God bless her. All right. She makes me nervous. Oh, calls welcome, 436-2244-1-866-927-4587. It's time for the weather forecast with the one, the only Michael Rogers Weather. Stand by for that. It's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, and the very best of carpet and flooring and kitchen construction and home decor. Whatever you need to make your house house a home. That's right. Lots of newly refurbished furniture, too. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, and Saturdays, 10 to 4. Oh, ladies, don't forget they're going to have another girls' night out on April 3rd. Don't forget to check out their website for details. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Right now, here's Michael Rogers' weather.
Well, I turned the sprinklers on for you because you need the moisture, so everything is okay. But please be advised, you get a couple of weather events that's going to be taking place today. First off, you get a wind advisory for the western and eastern Magic Valley. Right now, the winds are out to the south 13, looking for winds to kind of gust up to about 20 to 30, gusting to 35. That's going to take place throughout much of the day. Also, too, you get a winter weather advisory, and that's for areas north of you. And here's a good example of, elevation. How does it change weather? Well, right now it's raining in Murtaugh, and even though I'm in Las Vegas, I'll bet my whole paycheck, if you get up on 93 ahead of Fort Show, it should be snowing up there right about now. Other than that, you're going to have that fourth day. I'm going to turn the sprinklers off late tonight, and you got a nice day with warmer temperatures working your way all the way up till Saturday. It should hit about 73 by the time you get to Saturday. 53 for the high today, 56 for the high tomorrow, and it just starts to just warm up as we go along. So enjoy the spring weather. It's the only weather you've got.
There you go. Michael, thank you for the rain. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley brings you the weather. Look for the blue door. Call them at 678-6945. Hey, don't forget that on Thursdays, it is a busy day. Why is it a busy day on Thursdays? Well, I'll tell you what, because Burley Livestock Sale Yard at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley has their weekly sale. 10 a.m. starting time. That's the sale that works for you. Every Thursday, Merv May, Cade, Rocky, Lance, Udy, and the rest of the crew. And for consignments and sale information, you give them a jingle on the landline, 678-9411. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, sale day, Thursdays, 10 a.m. Don't you miss it. Right now, let's see. George Mass was on the program yesterday, my dear friend. And they have introduced a bill in the Idaho State Senate, Senate Bill 1155, and this bill we need your help on. I need you to call the Senate hotline number and tell them that you support allowing the U.S. flag to be flown at half-staff on the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument located in Rupert to pay tribute to all the fallen comrades of Idaho. This memorial is well lighted and well within federal and state guidelines, and they need your help. It's on private ground, put up by private citizens, and the number to call in support of this Senate bill is 208-332-1000. That number again, 208-332-1000. Don't miss it. By the way, too, our thanks go out to Daryl's Cleaners. And I had a lady, it's been maybe 3-4 weeks ago, stop me and said, "Do you really take all your clothes over to Daryl's Cleaners?" And I said, absolutely, have for years. All my Wranglers that I like starched and pressed with a sharp crease, and of course with all my shirts and sports jackets and Deanne's dresses, everything we take into Daryl's Cleaners because they are the best. Absolutely. At 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, Kevin and Cindy and the rest of the crew, they really take the time and the effort to do the best job. So take your Rumply Crumplies in there and have them come back brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Boy, it is kind of wet outside. And you know what? It doesn't bother me at all. Normally in the rain and the spring and everything, I've got so much going on and I want to get outside and get all my work done and everything. I love this rain. We need it so badly. It's just absolutely a heaven-sent gift. Thank you, the Lord, for this rain. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000, the number to call. And they are, of course, Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet. Almost 18 years in counting, as a matter of fact. They do a wonderful job. No contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. Check it out, and you will see, like we have for years right here at Zebeth Ranch, it is amazing. The service is impeccable. SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. You give them a call today. All right, speaking of calls, now come on. Yesterday we had a wide array of phone calls And some really nice people, some new folks called in yesterday, and we appreciate that. We are getting sketchy reports, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this story. It's a horrific story this morning, and I want to thank my lovely bride, Deanne, for pulling up as much information as possible, but it's on all the newscasts. Airbus, Lufthansa Airlines Airbus, has gone down in the Swiss Alps, and I believe there were 144 passengers and 6 crew members, all feared dead. It was en route from Spain to Germany, and I know there's a lot of speculation, and there's a lot of how come this happened, and why did it go down like it did, how come they didn't turn around, why didn't they try to find an airport that they could veer off and try to land. I don't know. They had called in a mayday, evidently, and all these things are coming in, and the facts will be known, but it's very unfortunate, a real tragedy that 144 passengers and 6 crew members are presumed dead on Airbus A320 on a flight from Spain to Germany, and I know much more is going to prevail itself as far as information in the next couple of hours. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Now, they're open 7:30 in the morning to 5 at night, Monday through Friday, and they've got your light bulbs. Go to the light, and besides all the light bulbs, they got all the fluorescent lights and the CFLs, and they've got all the wires and the cords and the fuses and everything else over there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. That's why they call it by that name at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And if you're in a hurry, need to call ahead, they'll have your order waiting for you at the counter, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Really, really nice people. We're going to get into a subject of interviewing the millennials in just a moment, so stand by for that. Honestly, I was so upset last night, and I do reach points of anger to where I wanted to pull off one of my boots and just throw it through that 60-inch television. I'm telling you, it made me mad. We'll see what your response is in just a minute. Don't forget Valleywide Home and Ranch, and they're located at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Mandy and Sean, everybody over there at Valleywide Home and Ranch. You know what? Deanne talked to Mandy yesterday, and they've got all the cute little bunny rabbits over there at Valleywide. Yeah, little bunny rabbits for Easter. And also, I understand they got turkeys. And Wednesday, they're going to have more shipments of chickens, along with all the feed and the water dishes and the housing and the fences. Anything you need is right there at Valleywide. And by the way, too, 4-H'ers, they've got everything for your 4-H projects over there. All your 4-H supplies at Valleywide Home and Ranch. Really nice people. 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. For the home, the farm, and the ranch, it's Valleywide. Last night, I was watching various news shows, and on the O'Reilly Factor, they have a little segment called Waters World. And Jesse Waters goes out and about and talks to various people, asks them questions. And to be honest with you, I think most of the people that are asked, they seem to have an IQ of a box of rocks. Well, last evening on the show, they had gone out and they were asking people in New York City if they were proud to live in America and if they felt that they owed America anything for living in this great country. And I'll be honest with you folks, some of the responses were so unintelligent, so ignorant, so ego-centered, and so absolutely ridiculous. Honestly, I did want to take one of my boots off and throw it right through the TV screen. One young punk said that he, and I'm taking out the one word, and he used an expletive. He said, I don't owe this blank country anything. And then with further questioning, they found out that he was on food stamps, and they found out that he wasn't working. And there he is at a New York City bar getting blitzed. Caller, I'll be right there. And then one said America was great because he, the person they asked the question to, didn't have to work. He was on welfare, and he hadn't worked a day in his life, and he was proud of it, and he said, this is a great country because I don't have to do anything. What in the world is the matter with portions of the younger generation? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb. I've seen it, and I'm disgusted with it, and it's too bad that they don't pay attention to what Jesse said when that one guy said what he did about how dumb we was and all that. And you know what Jesse told him, don't you?
Yeah.
Why don't you leave? And he didn't have an answer to that.
He didn't have any. You know, Al, I know that some people will say, well, these were setups, and some people will say that they just pulled out the worst of the worst. But, you know, you've seen other men on the street interviews and with these millennials, and quite frankly, this one ran true to form like many others. These kids just don't have a clue.
Oh, it's around here in this area, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the United States because we got a bunch of lazy, punk-headed kids that don't believe in doing a thing but accepting handouts from mother and the states and the federal government.
You know, this is not true in all cases, and I want to make sure I amplify that. I'm sure that there are a number of younger people in the millennial age bracket that are getting up and going, and they're do something with their life.
But you never hear about them.
I know, but when you looked at that last night, 3 words came to play in my mind. These people were dumb, they were lazy, and they're worthless.
Yep. Bunch of lazy jackasses that should be kicked off the welfare system, say either go to work or starve.
What about, honestly, this fruitcake that was standing there with a red baseball cap on, and they said, well, what do you think about this great country? And he said, America's the greatest country in the world because I don't have to work. I've never worked. I've been on welfare, and with a big grin on his face. And you know what? I wanted to play AT&T with him so bad and reach out and touch him. I mean, this was really repulsive.
Amen. Well, have a good rainy day, Daddy.
All right. God bless you, Al.
We need it.
Oh, we do. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Well, you know, what is the matter with these kids? What is the matter? Now, again, I stress I'm not saying all of the millennials. I'm not saying all the under 30s. Because I know some under 30s that are get out of bed in the morning early and hit the deck running, and they are out there working hard to achieve and use God's talents. But boy, these losers I saw last night. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. 30 seconds. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley, home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We had our lunch bunch over there last week. Wow. The food, tremendous. The service, tremendous. And we gave a special picture to Thomas over there. What a nice guy. Really appreciate him. Yeah, I know. Caller, I'll be there in a minute. Stop the cow. I'll be right there. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley. And they've also got a new location at 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. The very best of food. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner at Denny's Restaurant and great service. Yep, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. You stop in and enjoy today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
That cow sounds like the first cow I tried to milk. That cow looked around at me and says, what do you think you're doing? You know, that's really what it looked like to me. So,
you know, I hated that. I hated milking a cow. I milked a lot of cows when I was younger, and I never will forget that you'd be all hunched over on that little bitty stool, and then all of a sudden, flap, here came that manure-filled tail just to wreck your morning.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
On a serious note, there's a real serious issue. If people believe in freedom of medical choice, there's a bill, HB 181, Zeb, that will basically eliminate all naturopaths in the state of Idaho. And it's so sinister. Unfortunately, Fred Wood, right there in your area, is the one was the one that really pushed for this thing. The medical people don't want any competition. I mean, the regular MDs. And many of us that have experienced the benefits of naturopaths certainly need to oppose this. So we need to get hold of the senators, Cameron and Hyder, and in this area that are let them be aware that we need to have freedom of choice. This country was built on choice.
Adrian, I really appreciate.
People that are excited about this.
I really appreciate you're always calling in, and you're always a man that's you have convictions and opinions. However, I am going to say that on Senate Bill 1121, you and I absolutely are of a different mindset when it comes to inoculations and immunizations. I am a person that will fight toe to nail and stand up for immunizations that are coerced and forced for everyone and their children, because I don't believe they should be allowed in the school system. I don't believe that we should allow the chance and the opportunity for dangerous diseases like polio, measles, and many other, whooping cough, etc., to begin to run rampant. And I am absolutely opposed to you on that issue. But I say that out of a friendly vein of conversation, and that's why I wanted to bring that up.
We can disagree on that, but this has nothing to do with vaccination.
I understand that.
This has to do with medical choice. And like I say, I can remember when my father came to Twin Falls many years ago, came to a nature path here. Unfortunately, that nature path was run out of town because Jim Jones allowed the state-fed people to come in here and literally put this guy in chains because he was violated, the medical people here for doing what he did. But I can tell you, folks, if HB 181 goes through, all nature paths in this state will be shut down. The people employed will be shut down. You will have no other alternative but to go to another state for this kind of practice.
I will get a copy of the bill. I will get a copy of the bill, and I'll get that today, and I'll read it so I understand it better before I pass judgment and or an opinion. I got a hard break coming up, Adrian. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it as always. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Don't forget Berry Equipment and Rental. Oh my, we're running a little bit late here. I got to get this in. Berry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. It's springtime. Yeah, buddy. I'm telling you, everybody's going to be cleaning up this weekend. They're calling for highs in the 70s and sunshine. People are going to be out there in the yards. Well, they've got all the equipment over there. The Coyote tractors, the Bobcats, the Walker mowers, they've got it all. And they got the big Doosan loaders and the big Doosan excavators. My goodness, what are you waiting for? You get a hold of Nick and Burley or the other locations. South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Berry Equipment and Rental, and you'll get the job done right. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you, I promise. And I got a hard break coming up, but I'll do that. Your call first. Don't forget, too, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, a heat pump, you and your family will always enjoy the comfort. Get a hold of Ramsey's today. Great people. 678-0459, and learn how they can save you money. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, where they sell warm winters and cool summers. Caller, real quick, and then I'll go to the break.
Zeb, I noticed in the Twin Falls paper this morning, Burley and the Skagit County Police Department, or whatever you want to call them, mistrust lingers in Burley, Skagit County police deal. I wish these guys would grow up, make a deal on the policing of the Skagit County and the city of Burley, and get over all this crap that they're going through.
You know, and I'm not going to argue with you on that point. I feel like there's been a lot of discussion. There's been a lot of animus and a lot of finger pointing. But I personally, after the program is over, I'm going to be calling both factions and see if they want to air their grievances on the air so that we can kind of open it up and find out what the big complaints are.
Yeah, I think these guys need to be taken in the woodshed, spanked, and told to grow up.
Excuse me, I'm not going to argue with you on that because
the tax dollars comes from all the same people.
Yeah.
The taxpayers of Skagit County, and that includes the city of Burley.
Well,
I just don't understand this deal.
What we'll do, you bet, buddy. Thank you very much. And what I'm going to do, I read that story in the paper this morning, and I just think it needs to be aired. If they're going to put it in the newspaper, and this goes to the Burley City Council and the county commissioners in Cassia County, if there's going to be a story in the newspaper, you should have the intestinal fortitude to come on this program, factions from both sides, and explain to the public why there's mistrust and why there's this kind of animus between the two groups. So, when this program's over this morning, that's what I'm going to do, is try to set it up and have them come over, or at least be on the phone, and we'll talk about it. Holy smokes, I'm running late. Right now it's time for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology. And don't forget to call 312-0957 for a hearing screening. And I'll tell you, no matter what your age, hearing loss is not a part of aging. That's right, it's not an age problem, and it's not normal. And that's why I highly suggest that you see and listen to Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, right behind the Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room. Number to call for a hearing screening, 312-0957. And right now, here's the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Genetically modified Golden Delicious and Granny Smith apples have been approved in Canada about a month after being deregulated in the United States. The non-browning Arctic apples developed by Okanagan Specialty Fruits, Summerland, British Columbia, have been approved for propagation and sales in Canada after reviews by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency and Health Canada, the company said. Government scientists conducted an assessment that ensured the apple is safe for consumption and still has all its nutritional value and therefore does not differ from other apples available on the market, Health Canada said in a statement. A thorough analysis of data and protocols of the company was conducted, the agency said. For the Capital Press Ag Minute, this is Brandon Tenner. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West's Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with Christine Pickup at, of course, 1218 9th Street, Unit 2 in Rupert, right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room. Review your medications for ototoxicity and demonstrate ways to protect your hearing at Mount Harrison Audiology. Number to call, 312-0957. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I was gathering information for this morning's program, and this story just stood out like a sore thumb because of where it happened. Lexington, Massachusetts. Lexington, the birthplace of our United States of America revolution, where patriots stood up against England and said, no, we have a better way, we have a better idea, we will have a better country. Lexington, Massachusetts, the birthplace of our revolution, and they just told the Lexington High School students to nix, nada, no, you can't have it. A patriotic pride day, because it might offend somebody. You know, there's a lot of people that don't like me. Oh, that's hard for me to swallow. And there's a lot of people that when I bring subjects up, they go, I don't believe that, and they curse and cuss and everything else. That's fine. You have a right to your opinion, but oh, so do I. Here we are, living in a world that is absolutely coming apart at the seams like a very cheap suit. And this country, founded upon liberty, and people that devoted their lives and the blood and the sweat and the tears to provide us a nation that's been unequaled anywhere else in the world. And if you don't like that or don't believe it, get out. Get out. And these kids at Lexington, Massachusetts High School wanted to have a patriotic pride day. And they were told, no, it might hurt someone's feelings, and they might not feel inclusive. My question to you is this morning, now come on, don't be lazy on this, call me. Do we care if we hurt someone's feelings in this country, that they're not included or they don't feel, they're offended by our flag? I'm just going to give you a resounding, very short answer. No. No, I don't care at all. I don't care at all if I see that flag up on that flagpole. And it reminds me of all the great things that were provided to me, a citizen of this great United States, by the death and the fighting and the absolute giving of all by our soldiers. It doesn't bother me at all if it offends somebody that doesn't feel included, because you can just get a ticket and go right back across the water where you came from. But to cave in and go wussy against America, well, we don't want to offend anybody. Let's take the flag down. No, you can't have a Patriot Pride Day at school. Might hurt somebody's feelings. I couldn't care less if their feelings are hurt. Get out of Dodge. Caller, good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. It's Tony. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good. Well, you know me. You know me okay, and I'm a big patriot, and I can't see how someone would stop us from just showing pride in our country. We're not trying to take away from, your heritage. Just for example, if you're Mexican, yeah, you might want to fly the Mexican flag just to show your pride in your heritage. But also, you should have the pride in your country, and there's nothing wrong with that.
There never was anything wrong with that. And anybody that would kowtow to any one person or group of individuals that are offended because our flag is flying proudly over this nation, over a school grounds, or over a patriotic day, simply put, I couldn't care less. Get out of here. Go back to whence you came. We do not need that divisiveness in this country.
I completely agree, Zeb. And, I've got friends from all over the world. Actually, I had a friend come over from Wales, and we were at a concert at the Kaja Fairgrounds, and when everybody rose for the national anthem, he was in awe at our patriotism. He had never seen anything like it. When they play God Save the Queen, you may or may not stop your conversation that you're having, and you probably won't even stand for it.
I am just so upset that there are twisted minds in our society that think we have to be just little wussies. Oh, well, we might offend somebody. Oh, well, we've got to be politically correct. Oh, we can't do that. Oh, no, these youngsters can't have a Patriot Day. You know what? I personally am going to make a call back there to the school after I'm off the program, and I'm going to tell the principal and the rest of the people that school is absolutely, it shouldn't even be here. It should be over in Afghanistan or someplace if they're going to stop these kids from honoring and remembering what America's all about.
Oh, yeah, fly our colors high and take pride in them, because there is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears woven into the fabric of that flag that is symbolic of the freedoms that us, as the American people, that we enjoy and take for granted, many of us.
Absolutely. I appreciate your call. I got to get a commercial break in. God bless you, man. Thank you so much.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Very well said. Caller, I'll be right with you. Don't go away. I want to remind everybody about Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. And sitting there at his desk right now with a pencil in hand and working up all the estimates for things they're going to build for various people, Tim Vaughn. And the number to call for estimates, 431-7 431-7314. 431-7314. They can build anything. I'm telling you right now, they're heavily involved in putting up grain bins for on-the-farm storage, and they're an authorized dealer in Sudcop, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings, and they're doing a lot of trenching for pipelines and putting in a lot of concrete for mangers and feed alleys, and they're also currently building the brand new Funk Dairy just south of me right here in Murtaugh. They're good. You better believe it. And a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services. Streamlined Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. Number to call, 431-7314. Streamlined Precision, professionals serving you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
How's that? You know how I feel about this. These people need to get their heads on straight. You're in the United States of America. If we want to do these celebrations of our country and that is totally our right. If you don't like it, if you're offended by it, go back to where you came from.
Yeah, but Kiltman,
this is what you're going to have to deal with. If you don't like it, we don't like you.
Kiltman, here's the problem, Kiltman. By telling these kids, you're not, you're going to offend somebody, and you're not being inclusive, and somebody might feel left out. What you're doing to those kids and their patriotism is destroying it once and forever, because they're always going to be looking over their shoulder every time they go to say the Pledge of Allegiance or stand up for the national anthem. They're going to be thinking that seed has been planted. We're not being inclusive. And this is so destructive by the liberal loony left. I'd like to take every one of them and march them off a short pier.
And where's the parents? Where's the uprising of the parents on this?
I don't know.
They should be the first ones in line to be pushing this and getting whoever is in there telling them, no, get out. Put somebody else in there. This is, like I said, this is the United States, people. You don't like it, get out. We don't care.
You know, though, Kiltman, God bless you for your call, but you know as well as I do that even here in Magic Valley, there are people that would like to stand up and say, I don't want to sing the national anthem, or I don't want to say the pledge. It might hurt somebody's feelings. There are people like that all over, everywhere in the United States, and I've lost my patience. Here we're talking about Lexington, Massachusetts, the place where America literally was born, and they've destroyed patriotism with these kids, telling them that they're not being inclusive. That is disgusting.
Well, the problem is, we have a free country. They have a right not to say it. They have a right not to sing the song, okay? But they don't have a right to force everybody else into their thinking.
That's right.
If they want to stand off in a corner, let them stand off in a corner, but leave the rest of us alone. We're proud of our country, and guess what? It's egg on your face if you're the one standing there not doing it.
Absolutely. Kiltman, it's always good to hear from you. And by the way, for those that don't know, Kiltman's my neighbor. We can throw rocks at each other. That's how close we are.
Well, we shoot at each other.
Okay, have a good day, buddy. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Kiltman calling in. Thank you. I just couldn't believe this story. Can you imagine in Lexington, Massachusetts, telling the kids, nope, can't have that Patriot Day. No, it's might cause somebody to feel bad. It's not inclusive. Somebody might be offended. Who cares? Who really cares if somebody's offended? We should be standing there and I'm sitting here with my fist clenched right now, thinking that we have to maybe not fly our flag because somebody's offended. We have to maybe not say the Pledge of Allegiance or sing the national anthem because somebody's offended. How dare they? Blood pressure, easy. Time for the weather. Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls with Ryan Horsley and the rest of the folks. They've got all the guns, all the ammo, all the accessories, and the best of people working there every day in historic Old Town Twin Falls since 1936. Red's Trading Post in Twin. You stop in and see them today. Here's the weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for Endeavor the Ranch. Now, here's a classic example of where you get a chance to see what we are talking about up close and personal. It could be raining in Merton if you want to just, head on Highway 30 and zip up 93 and head up towards Shoshone. Might be snowing up there because of the higher elevation. That's how elevation changes things. And you're going to see this particular pattern throughout much of the day and tonight. We turn the sprinklers off tonight, and you're going to have a nice day for tomorrow. Temperatures are starting to start to warm up. Usually hit 73 by the time you get to Saturday. High today, 56. Otherwise, enjoy the weather. Show the weather you got.
All right, Michael. Thank you very much. Michael Rogers. Weather brought to you by Red's Trading Post, 203 5th Avenue South in Twin Falls. Calls are welcome. That's just one of many stories where idiocy, incompetency, and people that have the IQ of a bicycle spoke are running our schools. Not all schools, but many of them. Telling these kids not to be patriots. The whole crew ought to be put on a very poorly constructed raft and floated out into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Oh, son of a gun. Did the boards come undone? Oh, we're sorry. Don't forget 43rd Annual Salmon Select Horse Sale and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, Idaho. It's going to be April 8th through the 12th. It's coming right up. My goodness sakes, they're going to have fun for everybody. My good buddy Fred Snook's going to be on the program with us in the next couple of days. We're going to be telling you all about it. The big Mule Sale is going to be on Friday at 6:30 p.m., and the big Horse Sale is going to be at 1 p.m. on Saturday the 11th, and then on Sunday the 12th, they've got that great big team rope. Holy smokes, it's a happening. 4 days, it's a happening at the 43rd Annual Salmon Select Horse Sale and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, April 8th through the 12th. Don't you miss it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb, every time I hear about these issues, I will get a hold of the school district and find the spokesperson, and when you actually speak to somebody, their attitude is totally different when they have to have a confrontation with somebody. Now, I don't explain who I am, and I don't, and it doesn't matter because it affects the entire country. It doesn't matter whether or not I have a child in that school or not.
Yep.
It's affecting everything across this nation. But you see, if we don't call them and confront them, then they think, well, I guess they don't care. We're going to go ahead and continue to do it.
Let me ask you a question. What would you do? What would you do? I know what I would do. What would you do if that happened in Burley, or maybe over at Minico, or maybe at Twin Falls, or maybe at Decla, or maybe at Oakley? What would you do?
Well, I'd call Gavin here and find out what the deal was. I'd go down and see the principal. I'd go down and confront him face to face. I wouldn't hesitate for a minute because, you see, if we don't stop them, they think it's all right.
Yep. I would.
Go ahead.
I've thought a lot about this, and I'll guarantee you I would flip the switch on this program. I would head down the road to that respective school, and I would go in with a tape recorder and or a remote broadcast unit, and I would do everything I could in my power to embarrass the principal, the school board, anybody else that would be that stupid to try to take away America from the studies of our students.
Well, you see, when there's a void and it's not filled by good men doing good things, good men and women, then the void will be filled by what?
Absolutely.
Evil.
Absolutely.
Whether or not we want to call certain things evil or not, they are the seeds of evil.
Absolutely.
And the destruction of our very country. We cannot withdraw ourselves from the situation and expect it to maintain itself in a good way, because it's going to get worse if we don't. Like I said, a government of the people, by the people, for the people, won't work if the people don't give a you-know-what.
There you go, Randy. I appreciate it, buddy. Well stated. Thank you. Lexington, Massachusetts, of all places, the birthplace of our revolution. I want to talk to you about our governors are being blackmailed. All of our governors. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. Don't forget the Book Plaza at 222 West 11th Street in Burley with my dear friend Colonel Dale and his very efficient staff. They've got all your Easter needs, Precious Moments figurines. Oh, everybody likes the Precious Moments. Deanne's got quite a set of them. And books and decor and other figurines and all kinds of special gifts for Easter and greeting cards and books. Holy cow, 3 floors of them at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. They wish you and your family a very happy Easter at the Book Plaza. You stop in and see them today. Also, I want to remind you real quick, and then we'll take some more calls. Penetron Soil Conditioner by Maisie has a 21-year proven record of increasing yield and quality of all Idaho crops. Speeding germination, reducing crusting, improving stands, stimulating root growth and microbial activity, and builds soil structure. Penetron by Maisie, giving faster water infiltration to reduce runoff. And Penetron treated crops have better roots and reduce stress for the water and nutrients. Actually, it will save you water and save you money. Increase your crop's performance with a proven soil conditioner, Penetron by Maisie. Get the original, not the cheap imitations. Contact your crop advisor to obtain Penetron soil conditioner, and they'll give you all the information. And for more information, you can even call our good friend Adrian Arp at 734-2255, Penetron by Maisie. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you hear that governors of various states are being told that they have to accept climate change and the principles of climate change by the government, or if they have a natural disaster, floods, whatever, they won't get FEMA funds. I'm not making this up. I mean, this is no longer the America that I grew up in. They're blackmailing these governors to accept and basically stand behind climate change. Or if you have a disaster, oh, I'm sorry, were you the governor that didn't believe in climate change? Well, we're so sorry. You can't have any money for your disaster. No, you didn't believe. You didn't jump on the good ship lollipop and believe in climate change. So no money. That is nothing more than blackmail at its lowest pond scum rate. Rules, regulations, laws, government intrusion. If you don't go along with the man, you're out in the cold. You know, from the EPA to the sick, perverted Obama administration, and it's time for, how dare he think this word, a revolution. Well, yes, it is. We had a revolution over 250 years ago for the making of this great country, for freedoms, and a prosperous future for all of us to work hard and try to maintain and use God's gifts. How dare he say that word revolution? But now with all the rules and the regulations and the laws and the EPA coming in and telling little Johnny, your son, that if he has a puddle in the backyard, the EPA is going to manage that as a waterway. Take away the boat, Johnny. This is the idiocy and incompetency that we're living in today with this government. And telling governors of various states, hey, you better adhere to what we want on climate change, or if you have a problem, you are going to get an empty checkbook. That's terrible. That's terrible. Nothing more but mafia blackmail from this government. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. I got 2 minutes. Go.
Good morning, my friend. I really don't think a lot of people in the higher up parts of Congress or whatever, the big people who think they're better than everybody else, I really don't think that they think the common average American will revolt. I think they think we'll just fold up and like a dead leaf in the fall.
Well, if that's their thinking, and quite frankly, on the other hand, if that's the truth, we're in trouble. This country's gone. It fell over the cliff. Because if we can't stand up to government, which is supposed to be we the people, we're in a heap of trouble there, Riley.
I agree with you, but I tell you what, I'm not willing to just shrivel up and die.
Me neither.
I have a feeling that's what they really think. They're not going to do anything. They don't worry.
Those people that are with the EPA and the government and everything else, they cringe. They're listening to this program. They don't like me. Well, I got news for them with their tape recorders going this morning. I don't like them either. I don't like them at all. And I will do anything I can to throw dirt in their face because I'm going to stand up for what's right. And standing up for what's right is not politically correct today, which is all the more reason why I'm going to keep on going.
Well, I'm listening to you every day, my friend.
All right. God bless you, man. I appreciate it. I got to run and do a commercial. Thank you. Big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I kid you not. Convenient credit for tires and services, and they've got the best tire value promise in the industry. Well, they do. And they've got so many of their tires on sale, like the Ultra Z900, all-season design, great passenger car tire, and up to an 80,000-mile warranty, depending on the size. Woo! You can drive forever. It's a big spring tire sale. Going on with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Absolutely the best. Our major sponsor right here on this program, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk to Scott Gano. He's all ready for spring, and he's out there trimming trees and getting sprinkler systems in and everything, and he's going to tell you how to take care of everything. And then at 9:30, Dr. Katie Brown talking about regulations that are crippling America. You stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch. We'll be back in 6. Wheels, it's all yours. Play the music, my friend. Welcome back. Hour number 2 on a soggy, well-thought-of day today. I really respect the good Lord above with all the rain and the moisture we needed. Thank you so much. Wow. It was pretty dry. It's helping. It's helping. Welcome to Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you. Thank you very much. Big spring tire sale going on. Along with Valley-Wide Home and Ranch at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley-Wide Home and Ranch. And from our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Don't forget, locally owned and operated, and they really, really care. I've been on the phone many times with Kelly, and he's been on this program, and they care. I mean, they've got all the commercial and residential garbage removal. Get on the route service. All you have to do is call them at 734-6969. Get on that route service. You can almost set your watch by them. I mean, they are so good and so efficient, and they got the dumpsters and the portable porta potties, and just absolutely caring for you. Always at your disposal. Call them today, 734-6969, Western Waste Services. Excellent people. Oh, my goodness sakes, we're going to have our guest with us in just a few minutes, and seconds, I should say. But first and foremost, I want to remind everybody about Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, the manager. Joel and his family and his staff. You know, they really take care of you. When there's the passing of a loved one, they give you complete attention. complete attention, and they can travel to rural towns and churches to help you with all the arrangements. You don't have to go in there to them. And they always, and I underline this and I emphasize it, they always treat you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please call them today, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Well, alarms are going off and everything else, and I believe, let me turn my phone on, and Scott Gano, my goodness sakes, the old tree trimming man. How are you, Scott?
Doing well. How about you? How'd your winter over?
Well, it's been a long one, and I'm looking forward to 90 degrees and a lot of sunshine. I love the summertime, and, I've had you on the program in the past, and you are originally from upstate New York. Is that not right?
That is correct.
How does a person that's always wanted to be in the tree business and be in the outdoors, how do you go from upstate New York, where there is just absolutely tree after tree after tree, and then come out here to the desert?
Well, that's a good question. I originally moved because I got a job teaching out here and started my business back up out here to help supplement income, and here we are today.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Now, tell us a little bit about your business, Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. I mean, it's not just sprinklers. It's not just pruning trees. Give us everything that you do as a service to the public.
Well, obviously we do everything that deals with trees. We prune them, plant them, remove stumps, everything dealing with trees. Mm-hmm. We also, and that includes fruit trees and shrubs and really the whole gamut of tree care and shrub care. Mm-hmm. We also do sprinklers. We install and repair. We start them up in the spring and winterize them in the fall. And really, every part of that.
Okay. Scott, let me ask
you. We do some landscaping as well.
Okay.
Pavers and retaining walls and that sort of thing.
Well, enough to keep you busy 24/7, 365. I mean, you're always going. Let me ask you a little bit about trees themselves. Now, I do not know trees. I mean, you are a person that grew up, you studied it, you went to college knowing all about trees. Is there a secret? Is there something special people need to know when they go to pruning trees so that they don't kill the doggone thing? I mean, what do you have to know?
Well, there are a few things that will really help you. For example, like fruit trees. You can prune your fruit trees to produce every other year rather than every year.
You're kidding. I didn't know that.
Depending on how you prune them. You can, there are different ways of pruning, like, say, an apple tree. You can prune them to taking the center out of them and kind of getting them to kind of come out and stay low, or you can get them to grow upright 12 to 15 feet and keep them more columnar so they're not spreading out so much depending on where you have them planted. Mm-hmm. And so there are a couple of ways to do it, and I come from orchard country. So I guess we've learned that we can plant them different ways. Like mine, I prune my fruit trees kind of a columnar way. You have spaces in between to allow the light in, because that's where you get good color from on your fruit from the sun, and they can grow up. And actually, you can get more produce by pruning them that way.
Okay.
A lot of people like them to stay low so they can reach the fruit, and that's fine too. So, there are a few tricks to the trade. Well, another example is when you're pruning shade trees, some guys come in and just whack the top of them off, and like a white birch, if you do that, they will die back.
Uh-oh.
And you've got white birch are very sensitive, and you can't just come in and reduce the crown hard and cut them back like that because the center will die back.
Okay.
And then so that is improper pruning.
All right. Scott, we've got a person with a call on the air, so we're going to ask that caller to go ahead with their question for you. Go ahead, caller, quickly.
Well, Scott, you finally got woke up, didn't you?
Hi, Al. How you doing?
Doing great.
Every once in a while, guys got to get out of bed.
Yeah. Zeb, this is one guy that you can depend on right down to the second. I mean, listen to him, what he says, because him and his company is one of the best.
Well, they've been here working on our trees, and they put the sprinkler system in, and they put the new sprinkler system in for my arena and everything. They've done an outstanding job, Al. I agree with you. I appreciate that.
They do all our work up here for our subdivision, and we're really pleased with them.
Okay, well, there's a testimonial for you, Scott.
Okay,
well, and I told Al that I'd pay him to call in.
Have a good one.
All right. Scott, let me ask you something about pruning, because a lot of people, and me included, that really don't know that much about trees and pruning and everything else. Boy, if you pick up the old chainsaw, you can do more harm than good if you don't know what you're doing, right?
That is correct. Absolutely, you can. And we get called on all the time to go in and repair trees that have been improperly pruned, and sometimes we can. Most of the time we can if it's not too bad, but sometimes we just can't treat them. Now, we also do, I train people on how to prune, because I'm fine with people doing their own pruning. Good heavens, there's plenty of work out there. And I'm fine with teaching them how to do it. They can work right along with us, and we can show them how to do it, and then they can prune them thereafter. And the thing about bigger trees is safety. When you get up high, that's when danger comes into the equation, and people just have to, a lot can happen quickly.
All right.
When you're up high and doing a larger pruning project.
Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this, Scott. Let me just jump in here and say that you mentioned something earlier that piqued my interest. By pruning and doing it in the proper location on the tree, you said that you can make them go biannual, and you can also increase the amount of fruit that they produce just on the pruning alone, right?
Absolutely. Yes. And some trees are grafted. So if you get in there and prune them hard, sometimes you prune those grafts back too far, and then they won't produce a certain type of fruit.
Okay.
So, yeah, there's a way to really set your trees back.
All right, we've got another caller with a question. Go ahead, caller, quickly, please. Thank you.
Yes, I just was wondering what he might recommend as far as sprays to keep off insects from your fruit, as well as to kill the funguses and stuff that go on, sometimes attack the fruit. We've got a pear tree that every year we've struggled with.
Okay. I'll have him answer that on the air.
That is a good question. First of all, it's a two-part question. One, you've asked about insects and that a good dormant oil spray in the spring, and then you're going to have to come back in during the growing season and have it sprayed with an insecticide. And it's not always just once. Sometimes it's 2 or 3 times, depending on the year. Now, this winter was not very severe, so we're going to be facing some insect infestations. So this year, this summer, it looks like we're going to have trees sprayed with an insecticide multiple times. And so, what I strongly recommend, and fungicide's the same way, when you have a wet spring, that's when you have more fungus and stuff. Depending on our spring, maybe it won't be too bad. So far, it might not be too bad. But if you're going to get a spray company, we don't spray anymore. We used to, and we used to treat systemically and inject trees, but I got so busy with everything else that I do that we just refer people to local companies.
Mm-hmm.
When you're getting a spray company, that is important to get somebody local because, in my opinion and what I found through experience is that nationwide companies really don't have your best interest at heart. And I know that might come as a burn to some, and I'm not trying to put everybody in the same package, but generally speaking, they're number oriented and get a local company. We have some good ones here.
Okay. Scott, I've got a question regarding pruning again, and I was sitting here thinking about it, and it might sound a little naive and totally misinformed, but when you prune a tree, is there a better time of the year to prune the tree, and is the tree, after pruning, is it more susceptible to having something with insect damage or any other damage? Is it more susceptible to having something happen right after the pruning?
That's a good question. Yes and no. If it's pruned properly with the proper tools, if the tools have been treated, a good example is like quaking aspen. They have a fungus that is very prolific, and if the tools are improperly cared for, you can spread that disease with each time you prune.
Oh.
Each clip.
Uh-huh.
And so, consequently, yes, you can do a lot of damage and cause further decay and problems with your trees. But if it's done correctly, no, and really very infrequently do you need to treat the wound with a dressing, and certainly not a tar-based dressing.
Okay.
And so,
I was watching a television show here a couple of weeks ago. It was Alaska: The Last Frontier, and one of the subjects on the TV show was trying to blow a stump out of his pasture, and I think he set dynamite in that stump at least a half a dozen times, and finally got rid of the stump. Now, removing stumps can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing, right?
That's right. We have done that actually. When I lived in New York, we used to blow some stumps, but out here, mainly we dig them out or grind them out.
Okay. So you've got all the equipment. You've got all the equipment. You've got all the personnel, and for all the tree trimming, the pruning, and also to get the stumps out. And you also put in sprinkler systems too. And I would imagine that right now, this time of the year, you're probably meeting yourself coming around the corner. You're so busy.
You're about right. Yes. We are running behind.
Well, now, if people want to get a hold of you and people want to talk about pruning and everything else that you offer as a service, give us the numbers and your location so they can give you a call.
We are located in Hayburn, north of the freeway, and the number to reach us at is 438-2485.
Okay. And what about your cell phone? Can they reach you on that too?
They can, but I try and get some work during the day, so generally it's better if they call the office, and they can, if it's an emergency, they can always reach me.
All right.
Via my cell phone.
It's really been interesting. Now, what about, is there a certain time of the year when pruning is absolutely going to be the best? Is it the spring or is it the fall? When is the best time to prune trees?
That is a good question, and you asked me that, and I neglected to answer that. It depends on the tree. It depends on the shrub. Like lilacs, they bloom in the spring, so fall is the best time to prune them. Otherwise, you go in there and prune them in the spring, you prune off all your blossoms. So I had someone just tell me the other day, well, I haven't been getting... my lilac hasn't been blooming. I said, well, when have you been pruning it? Well, in the spring. Yeah, that's why.
Uh-huh.
really the rule of thumb is if it flowers in the fall, prune it in the spring. If it flowers in the spring, prune it in the fall.
Okay.
Trees, when you're talking about evergreens or maples, or there are a handful of trees like that, birch, which is related to the maple, they will bleed if the sap flows, and I call it bleeding, and then it's hard to get them to stop, and you can do some damage there. So early spring, February, is a good time to prune, or late fall. Those trees. Evergreens are the same way. They really produce a lot of sap when they're pruned late spring or during the growing season. So late fall or early spring, same thing, pruning those.
Okay. Scott Gano, Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. I learned a lot already on the phone. Appreciate it, Scott. God's blessings, and we'll be in touch. When the water comes down the pipe, we're going to need it, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Ted.
All right, take care.
Have a great day.
Thank you. Scott Gano, Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, and boy, he knows trees. Being from upper state New York, I mean, holy smokes, there's trees there. And he's learned, and he knows all about trees and retaining walls and sprinkler systems. Good guy right there, Scott Gano, Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Got to pay some bills, and I want to remind you that every morning we start this program, we have our weather forecast brought to you by Michael Rogers Weather, and it's sponsored by Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And the number to call, 678-6945. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 4. Carpet and flooring and kitchen construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home, you'd better stop into Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, and look for the blue door. Absolutely. Oh, by the way, too, want to mention about our friends at Lennox, and Ramsey Heating and Electric can offer rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Now, as a Lennox independent dealer for over almost 50 years, they know the climate, they know the equipment, and they've done the shopping for you at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459. Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric, warm winters and cool summers. We got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And also in the news this morning, this is something that really is spooky, scary, all of the above. It came out this morning that ISIS, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda, three of the most vicious terror groups in the world, all three have joined together, and they're putting on training sessions over in Africa. Now, wouldn't it be great to somehow Google where they are training and send in a device that when it hits the ground, it goes boom, real loud, and creates havoc and mayhem and might wipe them off the face of the earth like dead ants. If we can find from outer space the back color of a back door of somebody's house, why can't we find out where their training camps are over in Africa? And why can't we launch something, like I said, that will go boom loudly and just get rid of them? ISIS, Boko Haram, and Al-Qaeda. And literally, and I know some people are going to be offended by this, but this is a fact. All these people want to do is maim, kill, murder innocent people. So maybe it's time to do the same to them and blow them to hell. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. Oh my, arrive. They've got a new shipment of Honda generators right there at Let's Ride. Be prepared and check out those Honda generators. Absolutely. And by the way, too, they've got a great service department. If you didn't know that before, you do know it now. They can fix anything, all your ATVs and work on your street bikes, everything, dirt bikes. They are so good. And I suggest, too, that you stop in and check out the Can-Am ATV side-by-sides. They've got rebates for those for this year, 2015. Where at? Well, where the fun is sold. Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Hayburn. The number to call, 436-4771. Let's Ride. Really good folks. By the way, again, I want to mention this. My dear friend George Mass and his lovely wife Donna, they were very instrumental, along with some other folks, on private ground put up by private citizens, that they put up the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument, and they have requested a bill that's going before the Idaho Senate tomorrow morning for a vote, Senate Bill 1155, and I ask you to call up there on the Senate hotline and support this bill, that they are allowed to use the U.S. flag to be flown at half staff on the Idaho Roll Call Memorial Monument located in Rupert to pay tribute to all of our fallen comrades and soldiers. So once again, call 332-1000 for support of that bill. 332-1000. That's for support of Senate Bill 1155. Please do that today. And I also want to acknowledge quickly Cameron and Siemens Insurance. My goodness, Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens are busy with all your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits. Their office is right there on Highway 24 going into Rupert. And what I would suggest, you make a telephone call, set up an appointment, and boy, you're going to be thankful that you did. 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You get a hold of them today. Really good folks. We're in just a moment going to get Dr. Katie Brown on our program this morning, and I'm looking forward to having her on the show. And prior to getting her on the program, I also want to remind you about our friends over at Mad River Laser. And Nicole and Alex, they took a little bit of time off and went down to California for spring break to be with the kids. And she wants me to remind everybody that coming up, you've heard Kate Cameron talk about it on her program, the great big Women's Expo that's going to be in Burley. Well, if any of those ladies need special banners made for that Women's Expo, all you have to do is mention my name and you get 25% off. I'm not kidding. Save money. And they've got anything for business promotion, all the pens and everything, and the sweatshirts, the t-shirts, the caps, the jackets, business promotion items for you and your business with the best. Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-2293. Let's go to the phone line right now and see if Wheels has our lady ready to go, and this will be Dr. Katie Brown. Dr. Brown, good morning. How are you this morning?
Hello, it's great to be with you.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the program. And you are a consultant and spokesperson for Energy in Depth. And tell us a little bit about that. What does that mean, Dr. Brown?
Sure. It's a research and education program of the Independent Petroleum Association of America. And we provide the facts about fracking and shale resources. And we also have looked at some of these regulations, including the ozone regulation.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Brown, you have a friend here on this program because I am absolutely livid. I think the EPA is nothing more than a criminal Gestapo that is trying to take over and manage all of us to a minute degree. They're taking all their regulations, all their rules, and I absolutely would like to see them defunded and run out of Washington, D.C. Do you agree with me or not?
Well, we're actually not a political group. We're an educational program, but I can say that there's certainly some concern about the administration's regulations, especially this particular ozone regulation. And just to since sometimes these regulations get a little bit in the weeds, I'll just provide a little bit of background first.
Good.
So ozone is when emissions from cars and other industrial activities interact with the sunlight. And right now, the Environmental Protection Agency is considering a proposal to tighten its regulations for ozone. Now, the problem is that if your county doesn't meet EPA standards, then you go into what's called non-attainment. And that means that if you want to start a new business or a new construction project, then you're going to have to go through additional permitting requirements. And so that puts another layer of red tape on economic development, and that has ripple effects throughout the country.
Let me ask you, though, Dr. Brown, tell me, I'm very naive about some of these regulations and what you do to qualify or be disqualified. What kind of standards does a person and or a county and or a business have to have?
Well, they certainly just have to meet EPA's tightened standard. And as I said, if you don't meet that, then you're going to be in what actually your governor called the economic penalty box. So actually Governor Otter signed on to a letter to EPA with 11 other governors, and they asked EPA to reconsider this tightened standard because it's going to have enormous negative effects in their states.
Now, what businesses would be primarily affected? I mean, what types of businesses, Dr. Brown?
Oh, it would be everyone. I mean, certainly energy development, but it would also be anyone that wants to open a business. Because basically, if your construction project or your business creates emissions, then you're going to be affected.
So, yeah, there you go. Now that would
everything creates emissions. So,
well, I was just going to say it could be a donut shop, and they might not be ready to open, right?
That's right.
Well, now, how far along is this as far as these rules and regulations? I know that governors from Arkansas, our governor from Idaho, Georgia, Indiana, Louisiana, just to name some, have all signed a letter in complaint against this. Why didn't all 50 governors sign a letter of complaint?
Well, that's an interesting question because the letter that Governor Otter signed was with Republicans, but actually this regulation has bipartisan opposition. Because if you look at the governor of West Virginia, Governor Tomlin, he also sent his own letter to EPA saying that the regulation would be impractical and unattainable. And Governor Beshear of Kentucky also sent a letter saying that the regulation would create hardship for his communities and his state. So this is definitely a bipartisan pushback here.
What would be the cost? I mean, is there a way a company could still open, but the cost would be so extreme that they'd literally run them out of business? Tell me a little bit about how this works.
Yes, it will absolutely add costs to opening a business or creating a new construction project. So the National Association of Manufacturers said that it will be the most expensive regulation ever imposed on the American public. And they said it would cost about $140 billion a year and put about 1 million jobs at risk. And of course, those costs are going to end up hurting American families.
Well, so, Dr. Brown, just so that I'm clear on this idiocy by the EPA sounds to me like whether it's a donut shop or whether it's somebody that wants to build homes or whatever, virtually every business would be stymied and stopped in this country, would it not?
Well, it would certainly make it very difficult for everyone, that's for sure.
So what do we do? What do we do? How do we fight the EPA? And by the way, this is what really bugs me. The EPA has no congressional given powers. They're a group of thugs and mafiosos that just assumed this power.
Well, we're actually an education program, so we don't lobby, but if anyone is concerned about the issue and wants to learn more about it, you can go to our website, which is www.energyindepth.org. We have a lot of fact sheets and a lot of blog posts and a lot of information up there out for people who want to know more.
Dr. Brown, when is this, if it's imposed to its fullest sense, when is it supposed to go into effect?
Well, the final rule is supposed to be signed on October 1st of this year. So So that's sort of the timeline there.
And what is this bill called so that we can call our senators and congressmen and say, don't you dare let this happen?
Well, actually, it's a regulation through the EPA. So it's not actually a bill. But again, since we're not a political group, if anyone wants to learn more, they can certainly go to our website.
Okay, and give us that website one more time.
Sure, it's www.energyindepth.org.
Okay. Dr. Brown, I'm very concerned about this, and I will stay on top of this, and I'm going to be calling the governor's office. Governor Butch Otter is a friend of mine, and I'm going to be getting one of his spokespeople on to talk about this, but I certainly appreciate your coming on the air. Is there anything else you want to tell us about this?
Thank you so much. Well, I think it's just important to remember how vast the economic impacts will be of this regulation.
Well, they'll be crippling. They would be crippling. I mean, the impact is absolutely enormous because I can't see any business that would qualify.
Yeah, it's certainly going to make it very difficult.
All right. Dr. Katie Brown, I appreciate you being on the program this morning. Thank you very much, and I'm glad you brought this up, and I'll do some follow-up on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You have a good day. Thank you very much. You know, when you read this, and I've got it here in front of me, it's all of massive new regulations proposed by the EPA. And honestly, if you built a donut shop and you emitted any smells or whatever into the atmosphere, they can shut you down. This is the incompetency and the absolute foolishness of the EPA. And what I'm going to do is Governor Butch Otter sent a letter along with these other governors from Oklahoma, South Carolina, Texas, etc., and including Governor Scott Walker of Wisconsin, and complaining about this incompetency and idiocy of something that could affect 1.4 million jobs annually, and new businesses would not be able to open their doors. They would not be able to go get financing because there might be some type of emissions. America is absolutely, it fell off the tracks. There is not going to be future business. There wouldn't be any future business. There wouldn't be any future hiring thanks to the incompetency and the bullying of the EPA. It just blows my mind. Just absolutely blows my mind. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Why did we get this way? I mean, how did we get this way? My goodness. And here's something else that kind of falls in lockstep with what we're talking about. There is a company called the Heritage Credit Union, and they have started denying anybody or any business that is a gun store or an ammunition store. And in one man's particular case back east, this Heritage Credit Union stopped business with his bank. He was the last to know. They closed his account with his bank. And they said their new policy is that it does not include his type of business. Now, remember when the Department of Justice said they were going to start something called Operation Choke Point? Yeah. Well, Operation Choke Point is to get rid of guns and ammunition. And so Operation Choke Point evidently is telling credit unions and certain banks, you better not do any financing with them, close them down, let their account go, we're going to run them out of business that way. This is America? This is America? My goodness. My suggestion is go buy all the guns and the ammo that you can now. Now, I don't care where you go do business. If you're in need of another protective weapon and or ammunition, now is the time to get it done. I honestly am looking through some very bleak times ahead for sporting shops, gun shops, etc. with the Department of Justice, especially under this Obama administration. Look out. They're coming after them. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear from you. Don't forget Streamline Precision, and they are located at 120 South, 100 West of Burley. What is Streamline Precision? Well, it's a family of companies providing construction, excavation, and fabrication services, and they can build anything for you. And if you need an estimate on something built on your property, why don't you call Tim Vaughn today, 431-7314. All the estimates go right across his desk, and he is one sharp cookie, let me tell you. They have vast experience in industrial development that includes dairies. As a matter of fact, they're building the new Funk Dairy right over here at Murtaugh, and feedlots and food processing and multiple other agricultural operations. And by the way, too, if you need grain bins for on-the-farm storage, they can do it. You better believe it. They're an authorized dealer in Sioux Cup, Chief, Balin, and Nucor buildings. You better believe it. Call them today. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley. Number to call for those estimates I've been talking about, 431-7314. Streamline Precision, the professionals building for you. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd love to hear what you... America is not the America that it could be or should be, because we're letting idiots and incompetents run this country, and they're leading us by the nose. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Is that me?
I hope so, my dear. Go ahead.
I've been trying to tell as many people as I can tell about this book that I read that has opened my eyes to a lot of things. And I know, Zeb, that you are a very spiritual man. And this is a very spiritual book. It's called The Mystery of the Shemitah.
Mm-hmm. I've heard about the book, and I have not yet read it, but I have heard about it.
Well, it's very interesting and time-sensitive. This is a Shemitah year. The number 7 is significant to the Lord. He created the world in 6 days. The 7th day is the Sabbath, and 7 Shemitah years. Okay, a Shemitah year, every 7 years there's a Shemitah. Mm-hmm. And every 7 Shemitahs there's a Jubilee year. These are all Jewish holidays. Mm-hmm. And I think we better start paying attention to some of the Jewish holidays, because a lot of things are happening. You know, and we need to be aware. This book of the Shemitah is so informative. It is... I have enjoyed the book very much. And I hope that you will get it and read it and make comments about it on your show. There's a lot of people out there who need to know about this book and the things that are coming to America.
As a matter of fact, I was going to run into the bookstore probably on Friday, and I was going to try to find it again. What's the title one more time for those that are listening?
The Mystery of the Shemitah, and they do have it at the Book Plaza.
Okay. All right, very good. You know, let me ask you a question about the status of where we are today. I get on this radio program every morning, and I sit in my office before the show, and I go through all the news that's going on around the United States, and for that matter, the world, and then I call the various think tanks in New York City and also Washington, D.C., and find out what's happening there, etc. And it just absolutely is blowing my mind that we are seeing less and less freedoms, and we're being treated like we're cattle by this government, and we're being told that these regulations are going to be imposed, that these laws are going to be imposed. We're being told that you can't fly the flag because it might offend somebody. I mean, when in the world are people going to wake up and realize we're not having our freedoms taken away, we're giving them away?
I totally agree, and I think that if you read this book of the Shemitah, it will open your eyes to the things that are happening. Yes, I think we are getting very, very close to the Lord's second coming.
Oh, I agree with that.
And I think this book will help you see that.
I agree with that. Yes.
Okay, this book talks about the solar eclipse, the blood moons, and all these things that are happening that are the signs and wonders in the heavens that were to happen before the Lord returns.
But one thing we always must keep in mind, my dear, and I know you'll agree with me on this. According to the Scriptures, no man knoweth the hour that God will return.
That's right. No man knows exactly. But the Lord did say that He would give us signs and wonders. And if we are watching, and if we are being watchful, we will see signs that tell us that His coming is near.
I agree with you.
This book of the Shemitah will, I think, open a lot of people's eyes.
I appreciate it, and thank you very much for your time this morning. And once I get the book and read it, you can depend on I will comment on the air, okay?
Okay, and
thank
you so much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate your show and all the good that you put out there.
No, I appreciate you.
You have given a lot of warnings to people.
Well, thank you very much.
You have a lot of good people on your show, and thank you very much for all you do.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Appreciate your call. Caller, I'm going to ask your patience because I must get a weather forecast in here, and all you have to do is just sit there for about a minute. Not more than a minute. I'll be right back. Don't forget Urgent Care of Burley. That's right. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center serving you at 382 North Overland in Burley. Oh, these are wonderful folks. You know, your health is their number one priority. They don't want you being sick. They don't want you being hurt. That's not convenient. They want to do their best to make health care convenient for you. Minor emergencies, major care, and they will see you today. Call them, 678-6996, Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. And right now, here's Michael Rogers weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers for the Ranch. Now, here's a classic example of where you get a chance to see what we are talking about up close and personal. You know, it could be raining in Merton. If you want to just, head on Highway 30 and zip up 93 and head up towards Shoshone, might be snowing up there because of the higher elevation. That's how elevation changes things. And you're going to see this particular pattern throughout much of the day and tonight. We turn the sprinklers off tonight. And you're going to have a nice day for tomorrow. Temperatures are starting to start to warm up. You should hit 73 by the time you get to Saturday. High today, 56. Otherwise, enjoy the weather. Show the weather you got.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Riverview Urgent Care and Medical Center. Wonderful people serving you. Minor emergencies, major care. They're located at 382 North Overland in Burley, 678-6996. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, yesterday, Ted Cruz said that half of the Christian people of this nation don't vote. Okay, and I said to myself, well, why is that? Is it because they believe that Christ is coming back and going to bail them out, or whatever it is? I'm not, I don't want to assume anything here. I don't want to point fingers. But you see, if we believe that Christ is going to come out back and bail us out of our mess, I don't believe it's true.
Yeah.
Now, the Shania, what she's talking about is, I'm going to go get that book right now, and I'm going to read it. But my point is Christ's time is not our time. It could be 50, 100 years before he comes back. I've had people that I've known throughout my life that were back in when I was an 18-year-old boy. I had a very close friend of mine, older lady, not that much, said that she was waiting for Christ to come then. Well, you see, if we have the Jesus syndrome where we are waiting for Christ to come and bail us out and clean it all up, I don't think he's going to bail us out and clean up our mess.
No man knoweth the hour that he will return, and we are to keep going diligently until that time. Let me ask you. That's right. Let me ask you a quick question here, Randy, because it's very important about what happened yesterday with Ted Cruz, senator from Texas, officially throwing his hat in the GOP presidential ring. Automatically, right off the top, stop. When Ted Cruz said he was going to run for president, he was at Liberty University, and the left-wing dim Democrats went out right away, and they ran to their newspapers, they ran to their televisions, they ran to their radio stations, and they started a sleaze campaign against him yesterday right off the bat. They came out, and he's an uncompromising conservative. We can't have him in office. Why, he's anti-gay marriage. Why, he's anti-abortion. They started a sleaze campaign within minutes after he announced that he was going to run for president.
Of course. This is my theory about that. There's going to be so many, I believe, people, Rand Paul running, Marco Rubio, Walker from Wisconsin, Carly Fiorina. There are so many running that are so capable that they are going to be, it's going to be so hard to separate and destroy, because when they start trying to destroy all their reputations, they're not going to get it done, because there isn't just one that's standing there alone. And the thing of it is these men are obviously pretty clean, and there's not going to be a lot they're going to find. I'm going to tell you, I don't see how they're going to be able to get it done, because there's just too many.
On the other side of the coin, I sit here and I do this program and I read as much as I can about politics and about world events every day from 4 in the morning until 10 at night, and I still scratch my head, my graying, already white head, and I can't understand how anybody in their right mind, and please understand that I don't think Democrats are in their right mind, how they could possibly support Hillary Clinton as president.
Well, there is no logic to anything they do, and the ends always justify the means. And as Michael Savage said, liberalism is a mental disorder, and you really have to wonder when you watch those people like on MSNBC how they justify the illogical every day.
Absolutely. Randy, good to hear from you. Well stated. Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes. Am I on the air?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm calling to say that I don't think the Lord is going to come and bail us out either. This book of the Shemitah will let you know that the Lord is coming upon the world with a lot of judgments because of the things that are taking place. That we need to be aware of these things. And when I was in the bookstore, the Book Plaza, a couple of days ago, they only had one book of the Shemitah, and Randy said he was going to go right down and buy one. So maybe when you whether you or Randy get there first, whatever, maybe you better tell them they better order in more than one copy at a time, because I think this is going to be a must-read book.
All right. Well, now listen, one quick question, and this is very important. What is the author's name so that can be a reference tool at bookstores?
The author's name is Jonathan Cahn.
Okay.
C-A-H-N.
Okay.
And I'm sure they'll be aware of it there. They have both of his books. He's written another book before this one, and it was called The Harbinger.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
That was, he's the author of that book as well, and that was about 9/11, and it's a very interesting book, too.
Well,
both of his books are excellent.
God bless you for your call and follow-up. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Want to remind everybody about the Chadwick Sports Grill. My goodness, look who just stumbled in the door with raindrops on his cap, and that's Dr. History for next hour. The Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. What are they having for today? Well, let's see. If I follow Dr. History back to Burley, that means he'll buy me lunch. They're going to have spring mix salad topped with mandarin oranges, cucumbers, avocados, bell peppers, and bacon, served with soup. Now, that sounds like a person that's trying to lose weight like me. That sounds like a good diet lunch right there. Spring mix salad. At the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You stop in, the very best of menu items, the very best of service at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. You know, really, everything we've talked about this morning falls into the same pattern, if you will, as to why we should be concerned about America. The first story I talked about this morning was about interviewing these kids back in New York City. I say kids 30 and under, and what they thought of America and what America owed them. And then they came out and said, "Oh man, this is the greatest country in the world because I don't have to work. I can stay on welfare for the rest of my life." Or another punk back there said, "I don't owe this blanking country anything." That's the attitude. And it's so tragic. And then we talked about the governors being blackmailed by the EPA to accept climate change, or else they will not, in case of emergency, get any FEMA funds. Then we talked about Lexington, Massachusetts, the birthplace of our revolution, and the high school they're told not to have a patriotic pride day because it might offend somebody. Ladies and gentlemen, I just simply put this to you. What happened to America? What happened to us being proud to be Americans and stand tall with tears running down our face when we see that flag and listen to that national anthem? What happened to us? I'll be back in 6. Don't go away. Oh my, here we go. Fun time in the old corral. You've heard of the OK Corral. Well, no, this is fun time in the old corral. This is where the decrepit old people gather, like Dr. History and myself. Anyway, welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And we say thank you very much for the best in tires. And don't forget, too, some of our great advertisers, like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, 734-6969, and Valley White Home and Ranch. Wonderful people over there at 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Everything for the farm, the home, and the ranch at Valley White Home and Ranch. We're going to have Dr. History in just a moment, but first and foremost, I also want to remind you that on Thursdays we have a program called Cache County School Days, and it's brought to you by A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. They've got everything for the family, everything for the little ones, all the baby material, everything, medical scrubs, shoes, spring dresses are in at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. Really, they just celebrated their 12th birthday celebration. And also Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland in Burley. For 14 years, you can save money and get outstanding care. Every month, they have over 100 procedures. Save money. 677-8888. 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center serving you. Well, lo and behold, it is time for the one, the only Dr. History, brought to everybody by Minnecash Sales at 1321 East Main in Burley. You know what we ought to do some morning? Let's get Zach or Joanne right here on the program with us for the full half hour, and we'll talk to them. And they've got everything over there. Doors, garage doors, windows, vinyl and metal siding, all the solid surface countertops, and also the Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment. Oh, the very best at Minnecash Sales. Good morning, Dr. History. Oh, I got to turn your mic on. That's part of the rules. Good morning.
They have to be able to hear me, right?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
That's a good thing.
Before we get started, you're going to China shortly.
A week from tomorrow morning, I'll be on an airplane.
And how long does it take to get there?
I'll be 15 hours over and 20 hours coming back.
Why 5 more hours?
I don't know that. I don't know. Maybe it has to do with the international date line or stopovers. I don't know.
Do you know how to order food in Chinese?
I think I can point and shoot.
How do you know what you're pointing at? That's the problem.
Luckily, I'll have a good friend there to help me with pointing.
And you're going to be speaking to literally thousands.
I hope not. But Peking University, I don't know how many
they're going to be peeking at you.
They will be, and I'm going to be very nervous.
Well, don't be. Always remember the old adage, just treat them like they're sitting in their underwear.
that could get me kicked out.
Wait a minute. Chinese don't wear underwear.
Wait a minute. I'll be anyway. Okay. I've spoken a lot of times, but this one's making me a little nervous.
Oh, you'll be fine. The only thing you have to worry about is possibly being locked up for 30 years.
Or sent home the next day on an airplane.
What's the problem? What are we going to talk about this morning?
Well, I've got actually 2 short stories today.
Short stories. I know your short story.
Okay, well, we may only get through one.
Okay.
One of my short stories.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, all right. The Oregon Trail, of course, hundreds and, thousands of people came along the Oregon Trail, and there was one week in 1862 that they described as the worst week in the history of the Oregon Trail as far as Indian attacks.
Really?
Yeah. So it was 1862, one of the worst for Indian attacks in southern Idaho. During the first week period in August, a series of massacres occurred over 100 miles of trail that, for the severity and consistency, was unequaled anywhere along the Oregon Trail, except right here, right by where we live here.
Really?
Sure. The gold rush to California in 1849 had started, of course, the migration of immigrants, and that number just grew and grew every year. Well, watching caravans of wagons rumbling over the old trails, the Indians became restless, and during the early 60s started a campaign of attacks that kept the U.S. cavalry constantly on the move. Well, it was that incredible second week in August in 1862 that is pretty much stamped indelibly in the pages of Idaho history. Mm-hmm. Now, one of these skirmishes, an Indian attack on an immigrant train moving west over the Oregon Trail, gave us, along the Snake River there, the name of Massacre Rocks.
Yeah.
To the, you've been there, the granite formation.
Oh, absolutely.
Just this side of American Falls.
Right. Every time I drive through there, I look for an arrow to fly in my window.
I can't help it. Every time I drive through there, I always picture what it must have been like for the immigrants and the Indians that lay in wait.
Real quick question. Where the interstate runs through there, is that basically almost exactly where they were in the rocks?
From everything I've gathered, that's pretty much where the Oregon Trail went through.
Okay.
Yeah, I know they've done, obviously, some excavating, but that's pretty much where it happened. So, anyway, it was reported that south of Massacre Rocks on August 3rd, a wagon train of 40 people had been ambushed, and it was referred to later as the Methodist train because of the number of religious people of that faith among its members. It was thought that 15 women and children had been carried off by the Indians, and all the rest of the party were killed except one man who miraculously escaped.
Really?
Now, my dad told a story years and years ago of a wagon train attack, and a guy swam across the Snake River and escaped.
Really?
So I don't have anything to back that up, but I'm guessing that could have happened.
Once he got to the other side, I mean, how did he know some of the Indians weren't going to be over there?
Well, that's a good question, and where did he go after that? Maybe he went back up towards Fort Hall. I don't know.
Good thing he could swim.
Yeah. So, okay, that was August 3rd. Now, on August 6th, the Indians struck again near the same place. This time, it was a group of packers from the Willamette Valley. One was killed. The others managed to escape with their lives, but with little else. And, of course, the Indians, one of the things they wanted to do when they attacked was get the hardware, the gear, the horses, the oxen, anything they could get from the wagon. Okay, 3 days later, August 9th, a train from Iowa with many wagons, and they're really not sure how many, was also ambushed by the Indians at the mouth of the City of Rocks. Now, this is not the Alamo Creek Massacre that we've talked about before, though. But due to their number and firepower, this caravan, after corralling their wagons, managed to repulse the first attack, and that hit them around noon. Well, the Indians, after failing on their first encounter, contented themselves on a second try in rounding up a herd of 50 cattle that had been left outside the barricade. Well, after a day and a night of attacks, the Indians retired to the cover of some rocks for a council of war. Now, the white men reversed things on the Indians, and with a large, well-armed group of guys, they left the barricade and surprised the Indians at their council meeting.
Now, just a minute, because when you think of Indians, they weren't exactly your cowboys. I mean, they had probably not herded cattle that much. And you take a bunch of Indians on a raiding party and moving cattle, that had to be kind of like a Chinese fire drill, wasn't it?
Well, it had to be a little different, yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't use the word Chinese fire drill.
I thought of that.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. But
you're going to jail.
I may not even make it over there. Anyway, so they surprised the Indians at their council, and it was successful. The Indians, taken completely by surprise, had to jump on their horses, and being shot at, they took off, and very few immigrants were actually killed in this episode, although they did get a bunch of their livestock, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, the day before, on August 8th, 2 Indian attacks happened almost at the same time in different areas. There was a train called the Smith train that entered the west approach to the City of Rocks.
Okay.
Kind of almost where we're talking about, where Almo is.
Yeah.
But they heard the yelling of the Indians, and as they appeared without previous warning from behind the rock formation.
Wouldn't the Indians have been a lot better off if they'd just been quiet and shut up?
Yeah, because they could have got in that narrow area before you get into the city.
Why would you be sitting over there going, and scare everybody?
Yeah. Well, so all 11 wagons, along with 16 horses, were taken as the Indians completely outnumbered these unfortunate immigrants.
Yeah.
So the Indians, the information here is a little indefinite, but one newspaper account says that there were some survivors, although it doesn't say how they escaped or how many there were. But the article mentions the immigrants were saved by a party of people near their settlement to the south. So I'm thinking it might have...
Where would that be?
Well, I'm wondering if it might have been Elba area or Almo area.
To the south?
Well,
that's not south.
That's not south, is it?
No, the only thing south would be Brigham City, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, or NAF or one of those other areas. So I'm not sure what that would have been. Well, the next incident that happened at approximately the same time east of Fort Hall. Okay, so we're going clear back that other direction.
Okay.
Reveals that, self-preservation is basic in man's nature. There was the Yates train, 15 wagons, 40 men, and a number of women. Well, this caravan was assaulted in a ravine among a bunch of poplar trees. Well, the wagons, unfortunately, were far apart when the Indians attacked. There were 10 front wagons, and they formed a corral. Now, for whatever reason, they kind of left the remaining 5 wagons on their own.
What year was this?
This was in the early 1860s, about 1862.
Okay, so now the Indians must have had perhaps rifles and not just bow and arrows.
Yes, I'm sure they did.
Okay. Why would you want to leave 5 wagons on their own?
The thing that I've read over the years is that a lot of times these wagon trains would get spread out. And sometimes you'd have 15 or 20 wagons, and by the time the last wagon came into camp, he might have been 2-3 miles behind.
Yeah.
Because of some had, oxen, some had horses, and some had mules.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they left these other 5 wagons kind of on their own. Well, 3 of these wagons managed to break through and join the main group, but the remaining 2 were left to their fate when the entire band of Indians bore down on the 2 wagons and pretty much doomed those 5 immigrants that were there.
Pretty hard to circle the wagons when you only got 2 of them. Yeah. So that's a tough circle.
It is. Now, there was some bravery, though. There were 3 men that attempted to come to their rescue, but after the first volley of Indians' fire, so obviously they must have had guns, they returned quickly to the main corral, and records show that the next day the main group did manage to fight its way with a run for safety, and reports show that in all 7 were killed and 2 were wounded. So now, near Massacre Rocks, again along the Snake River, they struck again on August 9th. Like I say, this was a bad week.
Oh, man.
For the immigrants.
I'll tell you what.
So the original train that was attacked was known as the George W. Adams Party.
Yeah.
However, before it was over, it was to be joined by several other wagon trains arriving on the scene while the battle was going on. Now, this kind of indicates the great amount of traffic that went over the Oregon Trail during this period. So if you can imagine, here you have one wagon train. They're kind of on their own.
Yeah.
They're being attacked, so they stop. Here's another wagon train maybe a few miles behind. They come upon the train that's being attacked, and then here comes another group behind them. And I'll get to that a little bit here. But
and did they help?
Yeah, they did.
I see.
Now, one of the party, a guy by the name of, let's see, forgot his name. Anyway, Swaisley.
Yeah, can't forget Swaisley. You know what? That's a good time to take a break.
Yeah,
Well, you're trying to remember Mr. Swaisley.
Okay.
Minnecasia Sales. Hello, Zach. Hello, Joanne at 1321 East Main in Burley, sponsoring Dr. History. Boy, they can help you with your spring remodeling projects. That's right. They got all your lumber over there. They've got all your... Didn't they lay some carpet for you?
Did a great job.
I heard that they did a great job. That's all right. Great quality carpet, and they've got new doors. They've got garage doors. And you know what else? For those of us in the livestock business, they've got the best of Charter Farm and Ranch equipment. Ooh, that is good stuff. All of this and more at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, right across from the airport. Number to call, 878-2091. Minnecasia Sales. And now, back to Dr. History, trying to figure out what happened to Mr. Swaisley.
Mr. Swaisley was on the wagon train.
He's on the wagon, huh?
He is.
Okay.
But he kind of gives a graphic description of how the wagon train was hit while about 10 miles, again, this side of American Falls. Well, when the onslaught first occurred, the wagons were again widely separated, and it was difficult for the wagon master, Adams, to get them to form a corral. Mm-hmm. Well, seeing they were greatly outnumbered by the Indians, the immigrants did a strange thing. Somehow they managed to leave their wagons and escape to what they hoped would be safety. So they left the wagons.
Why?
Well, I don't understand that unless the wagon, maybe they were just so far apart that they didn't have time to circle the wagon.
Put yourself out in the open, for heaven's sakes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, in this maneuver, 3 men and 1 woman were killed and a number wounded. And by that evening, during the battle, several other wagon trains came upon the scene.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the amazing report...
This must have been an interstate back then.
It really was.
Yeah.
You think of the hundreds of wagons, but the amazing report states that during the remainder of the night and in the morning of August 10th, wagons came into such an extent that a corral of 86 wagons was formed.
Oh, 86?
Yeah. So this, however, still did not stay off the repeated attacks of at least 300 well-armed Indians.
Really?
So you got 86 wagons actually corralled up, but again, 300 wagons, or 300 Indians. So
now, these wagons, when they were in a circle like that, they ran all of the livestock and everything right in the middle, didn't they?
Right. They usually always tried to do that.
That's a big circle.
It is. Well, the battle continued, and during this strange outdoor drama, more wagons arrived, stopped at this stop by circling, and according to the eyewitnesses, this guy Swaisley, he said, we now had a company of 112 wagons.
Holy buckets.
And the several trains joined for the purpose, of course, of defending themselves. 112.
112, and didn't these Indians get the idea that maybe this wasn't a good thing to do?
I think they probably did after. Yeah. Well, anyway, the writer continues to describe the battle that raged for 3 days.
3 days?
So, but due to the increased number of the white people and the wagons arriving, and the idea that on the third day, one of the directing chiefs may have been killed. And so the Indians withdrew.
Yeah.
So.
Well, by that time they had wagons backed up to Chicago,
and probably still coming in. I mean, in a way, it's kind of funny, but really, it's not. But anyway, the amount of stock lost at this massacre, including horses, mules, and cattle, was 90 head. Cash taken. So the Indians did get some things.
They took money.
They actually took money, $17,500, and total loss in wagons and provisions, they figured not less than about $30,000.
And when you talk about what they took, though, the stock, and they probably took weapons and stuff like that, 1862. Now, the Indian tribes, of course, the big battle at Custer's Last Stand was 1876. So we're talking about 14 years later. But, I mean, it sounds to me like they were fairly intelligent, and they knew, or I should say well-educated, they knew that taking the white man's money was going to be of some value to.
Sure, because they could probably go to Fort Hall or
well, they went up to, there's a gambling casino up there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's quite popular here. So anyway, that's kind of the tale of Massacre Rocks and the week of 1862 right here along our own Snake River.
Who coordinated all this? Was it one tribe that coordinated all those attacks?
Probably. That's kind of what they're thinking, but sometimes they would join groups, the Panics, the Shoshones, the Blackfeet. Now, obviously some of them were bitter enemies too.
But doesn't it sound kind of funny to you, a noted historian, that all those attacks would take place in the same time?
Yes. Yeah. They, so, we talk about sometimes the military strategy of the Indians.
They were pretty smart.
They were. I mean, you talk about Sitting Bull and Chief Joseph and some.
He was really smart.
He really was. And some of those, the military thought they'd secretly trained in Europe or someplace as military strategists because they were so good at what they did.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think history has ever been fair to the American Indian, and I'm going to call them Indians, not Native Americans, because you're as native as they are, being born here in this country. But my respect is such that they did have a lot taken away. They did have their lifestyle changed and altered, and the white race at that time did not treat them fairly in all treaties. And I can understand why they lost, quite frankly, their temper and went on the warpath.
Yeah. We don't have time. I was going to tell a story about a guy named Chief Buffalo Horn that was also right along the Snake River.
I remember the name.
Yeah, and I mean, just briefly, and I'll tell this later sometime, but he was the chief over this area, and they got a large reservation, clear from Fairfield, clear over through Fort Hall, really a nice, actually larger area than they thought.
You know what we ought to do, and I'll help you get the information, is talking about different Indian wars and attacks. See, my home in Fort Atkinson, Wisconsin, was named after General Atkinson and the fort right on the Rock River, and the Indian tribe, the Black Hawk Indian tribe, Chief Black Hawk, led them against Fort Atkinson, General Atkinson, and they just were absolutely the scourge of Illinois and Wisconsin at that time, all up and down the Rock River. Maybe we ought to do a series on that, too.
And that's the one they refer to as the Black Hawk War.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's, again, it's amazing also how the immigrants and a lot of the cavalry, well, including our good friend George Custer, put such little stock in the Indians' ability to defend themselves.
Wouldn't you think that after an attack that word would spread and the immigrants would have had better thinking on how to protect themselves?
Well, and maybe treated the Indians a little better.
Yeah.
I know when I've told about the Alamo Creek Massacre, that particular wagon train from Missouri, they would just shoot at an Indian if they saw him up on a hill.
Weren't there people that doubted that ever happened up there, Alamo?
Yes, and I've studied and I've read and I've talked to people. I was talking about this last fall to a group of young men, and afterwards one of the fathers came up to me and he said, there's a baby that escaped being held by its mother.
And didn't she crawl along with somebody else all the way to like Brigham City or something?
They got it. They escaped.
Yeah.
But this man came up to me and said that baby died later and is buried between Kelton and Albion.
I see.
And his grandfather was a teamster.
Really?
And he rode past that grave and kept that grave up to cleaned up and one thing and another as he rode past it.
Amazing.
Every few days. So,
amazing.
Anyway.
Now, real quick before you leave, and by the way, I'm going to give us the outro here, and then I want to talk to you just for a quick second. Minicash Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley. Zach, Joanne, the whole crew, thank you. Thank you for sponsoring Dr. History, and it's on every Tuesday at 10:06. And Minicash Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, and they have everything you need, from vinyl and metal siding, carpet, garage doors, all the way to Tartar Farm and Ranch equipment. They are the best. Minnecasia Sales. Now, when are you leaving for China?
I'll leave next Tuesday evening for Boise, stay overnight, get on the airplane 7:30 next Wednesday, a week from tomorrow morning.
Are you going to be on here next Tuesday?
Yes, I'll
be
here next
Tuesday.
Next
Tuesday.
Yep.
It's your bon voyage.
It is.
Okay.
It may be the last.
Well, I'll get you a bon voyage gift and a get well gift all at the same time.
Get out of jail free.
But I do wish you the very best. And you're going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you are getting nervous. I can see it in your eyes.
It's true. What can I say?
Yeah, you're starting to perspire.
That's true.
You don't have anything else to say. You're a man of few words.
And I'll be. I hope I can just. Anyway.
Is your wife going? Is your wife going?
No, she's not.
She's not.
No, she has no desire to go, and she's actually going to go. She's got some other things planned.
Really?
With the family. Yeah. So it's good.
And you're going to teach her how to eat with chopsticks when you get home.
I may bring something home with me.
Okay. All right.
Something exotic.
Okay. Good. Dr. History, God bless you, man. Thanks so much. I got to do a quick commercial, and I'll be right back. Don't forget to the bookstore and office supply at 515 5th Street in Rupert. Oh, Becky and the rest of the crew, they're saying spring is the time to clean up and rearrange. Well, that's what they're doing at the bookstore. And they got 20% off on all the clothing, 45% off on all the books. Dr. History, get over there. Check out all the books. 15% off on the artwork. Oh, my goodness. And, of course, you know they got fudge. Oh, it's so good. The bookstore and office supply, 515 5th Street in Rupert, wishing you and yours a very happy and blessed Easter. We're going to send it over to Wheels at our main station. We'll be back in 3 minutes. Stay tuned.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb.
Welcome back, and thank you. We're going to have our guest with us in just a moment. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. They have got a staff full of great, great people. Nick Greenwell, physical therapist, heads up the crew, and they've also got folks like Jamie Earle, office manager at Burley Physical Therapy, enjoys her job and has worked for Nick since way back in 2002. Grew up in Malda, graduated from Raft River High School, and absolutely likes meeting new people right there at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. All the sports medicine, all the exercises, and of course the hydrotherapy pool with the treadmill in the bottom. Oh yes, helping you get back to being and feeling like yourself. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Really, really nice folks. And also, don't forget, too, we got to talk to you a little bit about the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley. My goodness, they've got Easter baskets. You can create your own or they'll make one up for you. And they've got man's baskets, including the jerky and the fruit and the peanuts and the brownies. And they got the little kids' baskets, and they can deliver the baskets in the Minnecasia area. Order now for your Easter basket. And they also make delicious sandwiches and salads, too, at the Goodie Shop. I love this place. 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. Now, let's head to the telephone, and with us from Media Research Center as a news analyst, Kyle Drennan. Good morning, Kyle. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Good to be with you.
Well, same here. I really appreciate your coming on this morning, and we're going to talk a little politics. You have written a deal called, I've got it right here in front of me, and I got to be honest with you, I did not have time prior to our interview to read all of it, but it's entitled NBC Ted Cruz, a conservative firebrand who throws rhetorical bombs. My goodness, he sounds dangerous, Kyle Drennan.
Sounds very violent, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I'm scared to death.
The media reaction since Ted Cruz announced yesterday morning has just been, fast and furious. It's really been, they really have a long pattern of really going after Ted Cruz particularly. Right now, actually, on newsbusters.org and mrc.org, we have a little study here of sort of a media flashback called Crushing Cruz, and it just sort of looks back over recent years since Ted Cruz really emerged on the scene running for the Senate and becoming a senator, the media have just routinely gone after him and hammered him. He's one of their favorite conservative targets.
All right.
And certainly the past 24 hours, it's been as bad as ever, really.
Yeah, the dim-dims have come out, and it's already started. But let me ask you something, Kyle, and you know this guy, you've studied this guy, you've studied the other candidates. Bottom line, why do they hate this man so much?
Like any conservative, it's, he is out there and he is, taking the fight to the administration on a number of different issues, and he's very outspoken and very unapologetic about it. And, that is not what the media likes. They like, there are certain Republicans where, that might be more willing to compromise, more willing to be conciliatory toward the media and that type of thing, and media concerns. But Ted Cruz is just very unapologetic. He's just going to go out there and stand on his conservative principles. And the media, I think, at the end of the day, sort of see that as a threat, as something, that needs to be, sort of tamped down. And I think that's why he sort of is their number one target, because he is so outspoken, he is so out front, and is not afraid to stand up for his principles and sort of put it right out there. So I think they sort of recognize that, and that's what they're worried about. Now, certainly, he's the first person to announce for president, so even more so, they need to find a way to sort of take him down a few notches.
Okay. Now, Kyle, I'm going to tell you my philosophy on some of this, and you can tell me that I'm just absolutely in the bottom of the pond. I like his stand. I like his being a firebrand. I like him being an uncompromising conservative, as they've already labeled him. I like the idea that he's against gay marriage, and we're not going to cater to less than 1% of our population and change all our rules. I like the guy because of his stand on the Middle East. I like the guy because he's willing to stand up and look somebody in the eye and say, go sit down and behave yourself. I like this because the Democrats certainly don't have anybody like that. Hillary Clinton is a has-been and a memory, and how in the world is she getting support by what they call themselves progressives?
Well, no, I think, I do think a lot of what you just said there is really lost on a lot of the media, that the idea that there are millions and millions of people out there for whom Ted Cruz is, and other Republicans are expressing everything that millions and millions of people in this country are frustrated about and want to hear someone speaking out about. And so, the media sometimes just, they live in this liberal bubble where they don't sort of recognize, well, no, there's at least half the country out there listening to what Ted Cruz says, and they're applauding that. And so the media doesn't take the time to say, okay, let's look at the other perspective. Let's look at what the conservative perspective is here. The media spent most of the past 24 hours just saying, well, and they did interviews with him this morning, and all of them were basically, well, you can't be that conservative. You have to really, you have to kind of step away. You have to abandon some of those conservative ideas because that's too conservative. People aren't going to support you. And so it's like urging him to, well, you have to move to the middle. You have to, abandon some of these conservative principles you have, because otherwise no one's going to vote for you. So, I mean, that's sort of their immediate reaction rather than sort of talking to him about what his principles are and actually getting into the actual issues. It's all about, well, you're too conservative. No one's going to vote for you.
Yeah. Kyle, let me ask you this. You live back there in a land that I will definitely say has superseded California as the land of fruits and nuts. But no disrespect for you, because you're a straight shooter. But when you talk to your colleagues and you talk to other people back there, I mean, what's wrong with shaking the trees and getting some new leaves on the ground? What's wrong with getting rid of the old stalwarts like McCain and, for heaven's sakes, Jeb Bush? I'll make a wager with you, and I'll bet you a steak dinner and all the trimmings that if Jeb Bush is the flag bearer for the Republicans in a race with Hillary, I will guarantee you that the voter turnout will be under 27%. People don't want the mundane anymore. They want somebody to shake this thing up. Do you agree or not?
Well, no, I mean, I definitely think, talking about the sort of the inside the Beltway mentality. I mean, it's like there's a bubble around Washington, there's a bubble around New York, Los Angeles, sort of the big media hubs where, there's just it's this liberal, conventional wisdom that the media just regurgitate on a daily basis. And it's really out of touch with where a lot of the public are in the rest of the country, and they're really not attuned to that because you have all the networks. They have their Washington D.C. bureau, they have their New York bureau, maybe they have their entertainment people out in Los Angeles, and they don't have they're not out in the middle of the country, not out in the Midwest and the South and other places. So all they're interacting with is people in these big liberal cities. And so when someone like Ted Cruz comes along and others and, challenges all of that liberal conventional wisdom in these urban centers, it just completely throws them off. They don't understand that a huge portion of the country has those conservative values.
Yeah.
And you see that reflected in the media coverage and how they react to someone like Ted Cruz, like he's like an alien to them.
You could take, and I want you to respond to this. I know it's away from Ted Cruz, but I just don't like Hillary Clinton, and I don't care who knows it. But you could take the list of accomplishments that Hillary Clinton has supposedly done, and you could inscribe them on the head of a pin, and you'd still have room for the Gettysburg Address. What has this woman ever done?
Well, no, I think the media, with you have the email scandal and that type of thing, and they have been covering that.
Yeah.
But I think they certainly are going to. I think there's an assumption by a lot of reporters that, well, she has this long, impressive resume, and she's done all these different things, and they're not. It'll be a challenge for them to see if they actually try and dissect her record and try and get to the bottom of, well, what has she actually done? I mean, what did she do as Secretary of State? What did she do as a senator, First Lady? And I think but most likely that's not going to get covered because the media have this just automatic assumption that, oh, she's the most qualified person who's ever, run for president. I mean, this is the kind of stuff you hear repeated in the liberal press. So, I mean, we'll see what they actually cover, but that seems to be their automatic assumption is no, she's completely qualified. Meanwhile, someone like Ted Cruz comes along and it's you've only been in the Senate for a short time. Are you really qualified? And so, like with Republicans, they'll go right to their qualifications. With Hillary, it seems to be, well, of course she's qualified. She's Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely that double standard.
But there's also the double standard of a lack of knowledge by most people, because if you'll take the record and resume of Barack Hussein Obama when he was in the Senate and compare it to Ted Cruz at the age and also the values of being a senator, it's almost a complete flip-flop. Ted Cruz is by far much more worthy of running for president than Obama did at the time he was an Illinois state senator.
Yeah, no, and actually, I mean, I've heard some in the press try to argue, well, they're basically the same. They're both these freshman senators and running, kind of at similar times in their career and everything. But you do have to remember, I mean, Ted Cruz, before being a senator, was Texas Solicitor General.
That's right.
Arguing cases before the Supreme Court.
That's right.
He had worked in the Bush administration. He had a record of accomplishment before being a United States senator that Barack Obama, if you compare the two, did not have that similar record. So, yeah, I think definitely if you actually kind of do if reporters actually do their jobs of comparing the resumes of him and Obama, I think, that would become pretty obvious to them. But yeah, again, it's just another one of those double standards where, I mean, with Obama, he was a rock star when he was running. That was one of their favorite phrases. But now with Ted Cruz, it's like, oh, I don't know, he's too conservative, or he's not really that qualified, or, suddenly it's a completely different story.
Let me ask you one final thought here, Kyle. And again, this is your wheelhouse. This is your main expertise. When you look at Ted Cruz and you see already what they did, the left calling him an uncompromising conservative, is he the only one of the Republicans that we know might be interested in running for president? Is he the only one that really has the backbone to stand up and call himself a conservative? What about the others? Is there anybody else that's going to hang that label around their neck?
Well, I think any Republican candidate who wants to do well in the primaries coming up, is going to have to reach out to conservative voters, and so I would think they would embrace that. But yeah, I think one of the things is with any of these candidates coming up, the media, when it comes to a Republican, when it comes to a conservative, the media love to just rush out there with an ideological label and say, "Oh, you're a conservative. You're very conservative." They'll use the word conservative, about 10 times in a story.
Yeah.
And then when they go to describe Hillary Clinton, the word liberal will never appear. They talk about, maybe Elizabeth Warren will run. Where's the liberal or left-wing label for her? So it's, with conservatives, they use the word conservative to try and denigrate, to try and label and sort of dismiss someone as out of the mainstream, whereas you will never hear them try to do that with Democratic candidates.
Absolutely.
Another glaring double standard that you're going to see here. And so, yeah, I think, a lot of Republican candidates out there are going to, probably have to just, embrace the label and go with it, because the media is going to put it on them, whether, no matter what. So, yeah, maybe just embrace it and run with it.
Absolutely. Kyle Drennan, news analyst with Media Research Center, and I've got a sneaky suspicion that we're going to be talking a lot more to you about politics. God bless you, man. Thanks for coming on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me, Ted.
All right, take care. Thank you very much. Kyle Drennan, and talking about Ted Cruz and others in politics. What is it about being a conservative that all of a sudden some of these people, these loony left liberals, oh my, he's a conservative, we're all going to die. Oh my goodness. We've got to start changing things. What the Obama administration and the loony left have tried to push on us is not working. And we've got to get rid of those principles. I got to get the weather in here. Oh my goodness, I'm running late. And I want to remind you about Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, telephone number 324-7657. And they've got a tax return meat package. This is phenomenal. And in that meat package, you get beef and rump roast and New York steaks and pork chops and bacon and brats and chicken and cheese. Oh, it sounds so good. The tax return meat package from Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, number 324-7657, and they're selling taste one bite at a time. Here's Michael Rogers weather.
Hello everyone, Michael Rogers for the Ranch. Now here's a classic example of where you get a chance to see what we are talking about up close and personal. It could be raining in Merton if you want to just, head on Highway 30 and zip up 93 and head up towards Shoshone. Might be snowing up there because of the higher elevation. That's how elevation changes things. And you're going to see this particular pattern throughout much of the day and tonight. We turn the sprinklers off tonight, and you're going to have a nice day for tomorrow. Temperatures are starting to start to warm up. You should hit 73 by the time you get to Saturday. High today, 56. Otherwise, enjoy the weather. Show the weather you got.
That a boy, Michael Rogers weather. And it's brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Number to call, 324-7657. Tell Don I told you to call about that tax return meat package. Selling taste one bite at a time. Oh, my. Interesting day today. We've had a lot of great guests and everything. We've got another big day tomorrow, and I'll tell you some of the highlights in just a moment. Don't forget, too, Streamline Precision. Hello, Tim Vaughn and Zane Gillette and the whole crew. How you doing? 120 South, 100 West of Burley, right next to Dot Foods. Now, here's the number to call. Yep, I want you to write this down. 431-7314. Tim Vaughn, and call him for estimates. I don't care what you need. Grain bins erected on your farm for on-the-farm storage. They're an authorized dealer in Sioux Cup, Chief Balin, or Nucor buildings. And believe me, right now, I want to say this up front. They're south of me building the brand new Funk Dairy here in Murtaugh. They know what they're doing. They've got vast experience in industrial development that includes dairies, feedlots, food processing, and multiple other agricultural applications. Call them and find out and ask for an estimate. They are good. Streamline Precision, 120 South, 100 West of Burley, like I said, next to Dot Foods. And the number to call, Tim, for the estimates, 431-7314, okay? Streamline Precision, building for you. They are the professionals. Absolutely. Okay, let's take a look here. Now, tomorrow, the 10 o'clock hour is a little iffy. It was like somebody pulled a shotgun up and shot it full of holes, because I had it all booked, and then all of a sudden it went poop, and they canceled. And but we do have open forum in the first hour, which I'm looking forward to, and your phone calls. And then, of course, Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana, is going to be on at 9:06. He's going to be talking about all kinds of different political subjects, including the SEIU union getting involved in Obamacare. And then at 9:30, we're going to have Colin Hanna. And we're going to be talking about the sunset tax codes tomorrow at 9:30. And then, like I said, I've got to fill the 10 o'clock and 10:30 hour for tomorrow. While I have a minute, and I'll take some more phone calls. Come on, give me a jingle. Talk to me and just make me feel warm and fuzzy all over. I want to remind you about your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my. They are busy right now with a big spring tire sale going on. Let's talk about pickups and SUVs. They've got the Wildcat AT2 tire on sale right now, traction in all seasons, smooth ride. It's on sale, as is the Open Country AT2 pickup and SUV tire. You stop in and check out all the tires, check out the brake service, check out, of course, the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, the best in batteries. I mean, they are the best. And they've got convenient credit for tires and services. All you have to do is just get the information from the best. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, the best at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Okay. See, I had one other little news story I was going to whip on you here this morning, and I'm trying to find which one it was. I told you about ISIS and Boko Haram and Al-Qaeda all training together in northern Africa. Absolutely sick. Mike Crapo sent me a nice note and said, talked about how they are pushing for the elimination of Obamacare. It's celebrating, by the way, its 5-year anniversary of absolutely creating more out-of-pocket expenses and limiting health care plans and limiting preferred doctors. And it has just absolutely been a train wreck. And so they can go ahead and celebrate Obamacare all they want, but all it's done is hurt a lot of people and canceled a lot of their coverage. And I believe that when they started Obamacare, somebody correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe they were looking at about 30 million Americans that didn't have health care, and so Obamacare was going to be the cure-all, the panacea for those people. Well, after everything is said and done and everything's been implemented, you know what? They still have over 30 million people that don't have insurance. What kind of a train wreck did they cause? By the way, the young man that is over at our station and doing the engineering, I'm going to ask him to turn the microphone on and get real close to the microphone. Wheels, I want to compliment you. You're coming along just fine and doing a jam-up good job over at the station. I say thank you.
You're welcome. I'm trying my best. So.
Well, you are doing your best, and your timing and everything is just really right up to snuff, and you're doing a good job, and thank you for what you're doing. And I bet it's not easy, though, following along and making sure you don't miss a cue, right?
Actually, I'm getting the hang of it. You know, it's coming a lot quicker to me. So it's just all about the timing and my reactions, and I'll get better.
Yeah, you're doing great. I'm real proud of you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Tune in tomorrow. We'll be back here again at 8:06. Now, there's a couple of options. You can listen to us right here on KBAR 1230 AM, or if you're out of the area, you can tune us in on the internet, zebbell.com. Hit the audio button and enjoy. We'd love to have you. And always our theme on this program is the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06. Adios.